Hello and welcome to Farley's Favorites. We're talking movies and specifically this gem from 1985, Young Sherlock Holmes. This is one that my mom actually took me to see in the theater. A few years after this, but you get the idea. I was very young watching this. So there's 8-year-old me and my mom. They're at the theater. I'm all excited. We've got our popcorn. We've got our beverages. And, mom just thinks we're going to watch a nice little movie about, young Sherlock Holmes. So we get to the opening credits, and then you see an old man walk into a restaurant, and then he gets served his dinner. So as this happens in the theater, my eyes just get huge, right? And my mom thinks that I'm scared, and she kind of takes my hand and asks me if I'm okay, and I just look at her and go, "This is awesome!" It was not the reaction she was expecting, or probably hoping for. I think mom was probably hoping maybe we could get out of the movie and just go and not have to sit through the rest. Anyway, so there's that hallucination. Guy leaves the restaurant, goes back home. Now we splash water on his face. We assume everything is fine. And then the hat rack. And then some pyrotechnics, because why wouldn't you have pyrotechnics? Keep in mind, of course, that he is hallucinating all of this. And he goes out like an after-school special. Or like he's on the reefer madness. So before the old British guy goes into the restaurant to eat his creepy roasted bird with the feet still on it, he gets hit right in the back of the neck. And you see somebody wearing a dark cloak with a hood, and they've got it's a blow dart he gets hit with. And that's when all of the hallucinatory craziness ensues as you start the movie. Trivia-wise, I think it's important to note that Industrial Light and Magic did the special effects for the movie. So then a couple of other old British guys get darted and wind up dying. And the special effects for the hallucinations were top-notch. You had a knight made out of stained glass that chased a priest out of the street where he got trampled to death by horses. And then you had this nightmare fuel gargoyle with the red freaking eyes that wound up going into his jacket and like crawling under his clothes and killing it. Never mind. All right, we'll get back to the hallucinations and the killings and the dead people in just a minute. But right now we have to meet Holmes and Watson.
You're the new boy?
Yes, I transferred from another school. My name's...
Wait. Let me.
And then, of course, Sherlock Holmes dazzles with his powers of observation and deduction.
And the custard tarts?
Simple. There's a distinct stain of yellow custard on your lapel. That particular color of custard is used in the making of custard tarts. And, your shape convinced me that you've eaten many of them before.
There's no need to be rude.
Can confirm, as a chubby kid, this hit a little too close to home in the theater. But that's your introduction to
Holmes. Sherlock Holmes.
Okay, so let's real quick talk about the secondary villain in this movie. His name is Dudley, and he's a rich elitist douchebag who takes haterade and injects it into a vein in his scrotum every morning when he wakes up. In Dudley's spare time, he likes to hit on Sherlock's woman. So then Dudley decides to challenge Sherlock, and Sherlock obviously makes him look like a fool. Well, Dudley doesn't like being made a fool of, so he winds up getting Sherlock expelled from school. But then Sherlock decides to put something in his food to make his hair turn white. So, revenge, I guess? Look, as a kid in the theater and as an adult right now, I am telling you that guy did not get the punishment that he deserved. And that was after you heard Sherlock tell Watson that revenge is a dish best served cold. And it's like, that's his cold. Man, that ain't even lukewarm. You didn't even put that in the freezer for like 10 minutes. That ain't no cold revenge. So let's get to our main villains, the Egyptian cult known as the Rame-Tep. Watching this in the theater as a kid, this part scared me as much or more as the hallucinations in the beginning did.
down for a closer look.
So of course, Sherlock is going to take a closer look where the people are doing all the creepy chanting and odd stuff is happening. But then you meet, obviously the head honcho. Obviously, he's the one in charge of the Egyptian cult because like all other religions, it's apparently based on size of headgear. So that does remind me of that one bit from the Venture Brothers.
I'm up in the dryer.
What the? Are you insane? What kind of torture is that? Get out of here! I'm serious. I don't even want to look at you anymore.
Okay, buddy, let's stay on target. Oh, right. Back to ritual sacrifice. So obviously, they get spotted, or Sherlock does, and then Sherlock and Elizabeth and Watson are running away from, the Egyptian cult temple, and they wind up getting hit each with one of the darts. So they wind up walking into a graveyard, because of course they did, and Sherlock and Elizabeth wind up having some pretty frightening and deeply personal hallucinations. But I want to focus on Watson's, because this is how it starts. I really, really wanted to believe that someone just left some freshly baked pastries in the cemetery. Just when he thought pastries couldn't be freaking creepy. So what do the pastries want? Are they going to eat him like he was going to eat them?
No.
I honestly don't know which is creepier to me. Them wanting to be eaten or them, I don't know.
No.
And the thing is, compared to all of the other hallucinations when you watch the movie, that one seems awfully cute and almost charming. And then you watch it by itself and it is creepy as fuck. Are the pastries wanting to be eaten just so that they can eat their way out from the inside once they reach the stomach? They have arms and legs. Is there some kind of musculature? And the eyeballs, it looks like googly eyeballs, but is it like candy? Or are they like little eyeballs that pop? If nothing else, those things have got to give you a wicked case of squirts. All right, that's enough of that. Let's talk main villains, because I didn't see the main villains coming. So, this is Mrs. Dribb, and she's the school nurse, and her brother is Wraith, and he's the headmaster of the school and Sherlock Holmes' mentor and fencing instructor. Rewatching this movie as an adult, there was a clue that she was a villain.
Sir, may I suggest that we have the dog taken to the pound?
You make a dog make a noise like that, and you were just not a good person. So Elizabeth and Mrs. Dribb wind up getting into a fight, and this is when you get the big reveal, and y'all, I wasn't ready for it. Let me just take a breath. I could do this. That shriek haunted my nightmares for weeks after watching that movie. For real, I was absolutely scared shitless of bald women. Well, that was until my sister started listening to Sinead O'Connor, and that helped me get over it. But for real, that woman right there scared the absolute bejesus out of me. So, the bad guys have got Elizabeth. They've taken her to the Egyptian cult pyramid temple thing, and obviously she's going to be the next ritual sacrifice. Then, in order to get there in time to try to save her, Sherlock and Watson use something called Wax Flatter's flying machine. Is it just me, or does Wax Flatter's flying machine sound like a Beatles tribute band? So Sherlock and Watson wind up showing up, all hell breaks loose, and Mrs. Dribb, who we find out, of course, is the chief assassin for the Rame Tap, she, it's not pretty when she goes out. I legit think I would make almost that exact noise if I had a fucking dart stuck in the back of my throat, but it gets worse. So you got a dart at the back of the throat, you've got absolutely horrific and vivid hallucinations, and you're on fire. So we're going to talk a little bit more about our villains in a moment, but first we need to talk about how British some of these names are. So I legit had to write these in my notebook so that I wouldn't forget them. But the guy from the beginning of the movie, the one who was hallucinating with his roast chicken with the feet, anyway, his name was Bentley Bobster. Now the other guys who wound up getting darted and dying are Duncan Nesbitt, Rupert Waxflatter, flying machine, and Chester Cragwitch. Why did just saying those names give me a powerful hankering for fish and chips? So in their younger days, those four guys with the comedically British names, Bentley and Duncan and Rupert and Chester, these four upstanding young men were down in Egypt doing some colonizer shit down in their younger days, raiding a pyramid and the tombs of 5 Egyptian princesses. So the people, as is to be expected, got mighty pissed off about that, and the British Army told them to basically have a piping hot cup and go fuck yourself. Yeah, so your big bad villain in the movie is the little boy who survived the carnage and his sister. That kid was so scarred from his trauma that he started a death cult. All because some entitled British dudes were poking around somewhere they had no business being in the first place. They should not have been killing young women. But when it comes to those old men, those dudes got what they deserved. Except for Cragwitch, because of course Watson and Sherlock had to just rescue him and be there. Cragwitch and all them other dudes were down in Egypt raping and pillaging, and now they were getting their just desserts and you screwed it up. So this one time I'm gonna say it. Fuck you, Sherlock. That being said, I absolutely love this movie. The movie had groundbreaking special effects. I think the story is solid. Was it a box office success? Absolutely not. It was not successful at all. But just because something was a box office flop doesn't mean it's not a movie worth watching. There's numerous examples of this. Well, of course there are numerous examples. It's elementary. God, I want to convert this into a bubble pipe. So get in the comments and tell me about a box office bomb that you really like. My name is Farley. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe to find out what I'll talk about next on Farley's Favorites. Maybe my favorite comic book movie villain. Or my favorite Mel Brooks movie. Or perhaps I'll dedicate an entire episode to my adoration of gravy in all of its delicious forms. Well, that's just great. Now I want gravy and there's no gravy in sight.